Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the observation deck of New Haven Colony, watching the sunrise paint the alien sky in shades of purple and gold. The coffee in her hand steamed in the cool morning air as she reviewed the daily patrol reports. 50,000 humans called this world home now, and Lisa made sure they stayed safe. The peaceful morning ended when Sergeant Claire Woods burst through the doors. Her face showed worry and excitement mixed together. Claire ran across the deck and stopped next to Lisa. Lisa looked at her friend and raised one eyebrow. Claire never ran unless something big was happening. The two women had served together for 8 years, and Lisa could read her like a book. Claire caught her breath and pointed toward the sky. Above them, massive ships appeared through the clouds. The vessels were dark and covered in sharp angles that hurt to look at. They moved with purpose and grace that spoke of advanced technology. Lisa sipped her coffee and watched the alien fleet arrange itself in attack formation. She counted 12 large warships and dozens of smaller craft. The ships looked dangerous and beautiful at the same time. Their hulls gleamed with an oily rainbow sheen. Inside the lead ship, Zarathic studied the human colony through her command screens. The HFY War coordinator had conquered 47 worlds for her empire. She had never lost a battle and did not plan to start now. Her pale blue skin rippled with excitement as she prepared for another easy victory. Zarathic wore the crimson armor of the elite warrior caste. Scars covered her arms from countless battles. Each mark told a story of conquest and glory. Her silver eyes gleamed with the confidence of someone who had never faced defeat. The young warrior, Cassandra, stood beside her commander and watched the human settlement. The buildings looked simple and crude compared to HFY architecture. The humans moved about their daily tasks without any sense of the danger above them. Cassandra felt disappointed. She had hoped for a real challenge after months of training. These primitive beings would fall within hours. Her first real battle would be over before it began. Dr. Amy Carter was examining soil samples in her laboratory when the emergency alarm sounded. She looked up from her microscope and saw her assistant pointing at the communication panel. The red light flashed the pattern that meant alien contact. Amy wiped her hands on her lab coat and activated the main screen. The image that appeared made her gasp. 12 massive warships hung in the sky like dark clouds. Their design was unlike anything in human databases. She grabbed her tablet and ran toward the command center. As the colony xenobiologist, Amy would be needed for first contact protocols. Her heart raced with a mixture of fear and scientific excitement. Humanity was about to meet another intelligent species. The command center buzzed with activity when Amy arrived. Technicians worked at their stations while officers coordinated defensive measures. Lisa stood at the center of it all, looking completely calm. She still held her coffee cup. Amy joined Lisa at the main display. The alien ships dominated the screen with their threatening presence. Energy readings showed massive power sources and advanced weapons systems. These visitors had not come in peace. Lisa turned to Amy and smiled. The expression seemed out of place given the circumstances. Amy wondered how her friend could stay so relaxed with an alien armada overhead. The communication system crackled to life. A harsh alien voice spoke in perfect English through the speakers. The translation software had already processed the signal and converted it to human speech. Zarathic voice filled the command center. She announced herself as Supreme War Coordinator of the HFY Empire. Her words carried the weight of absolute authority and centuries of military tradition. The alien commander delivered her ultimatum. The humans had 24 hours to evacuate their colony. Any who remained would be destroyed without mercy. The HFY Empire had claimed this world for their own expansion. Zarathic explained that resistance was futile. Her forces had conquered dozens of species across the galaxy. Humans were just another primitive race that stood in the way of HFY destiny. Lisa listened to the entire message without changing expression. She finished her coffee and handed the empty cup to a nearby technician. Then she activated the reply channel. Her response was calm and friendly. Lisa thanked Zarathic for the warning and said the humans appreciated the 24-hour notice. Then she said something that made everyone in the command center smile. Lisa told the alien commander that humans accepted the challenge. She said it should provide good exercise for the colonial defense forces. The tone was the same one might use when accepting an invitation to play sports. Amy watched the communication panel show that the transmission had ended. She looked at Lisa with amazement. Her friend had just responded to an alien invasion threat, like it was a training exercise. In her ship, Zarathic stared at her communication officer with confusion. She asked if the translation software was working correctly. The human response made no sense to her. Cassandra felt equally puzzled. She had expected begging or threats or desperate attempts at negotiation. Instead, the human leader sounded almost grateful for the opportunity to fight. The Velthari had encountered many species during their expansion. Some fought bravely, while others surrendered immediately. None had ever responded with such casual confidence. Back in the command center, Lisa was already issuing orders. She called for all defense personnel to report for morning drill exercises. The colony would use the next few hours for basic training maneuvers. Amy asked if Lisa was taking the threat seriously. The alien ships obviously possessed superior technology and firepower. How could the colonists hope to survive against such overwhelming force? Lisa smiled and explained that appearances could be deceiving. The Velthari might have better ships, but they did not understand human capabilities. The next hours would be quite educational for everyone involved, she ordered Amy to begin analyzing the alien technology from their sensor readings. Any weaknesses in their systems could prove useful during the coming exercises. Lisa spoke as if planning a training scenario rather than defending against extinction. Major Kate Sullivan arrived at the command center, wearing full combat gear. She had already begun organizing the defensive units. Kate asked Lisa how serious they should treat this exercise. Lisa told Kate to use standard training protocols. The colonists needed practice with real opponents anyway. This alien fleet would provide excellent target practice for the defense forces. Kate nodded and headed back to coordinate the exercises. She had worked with Lisa long enough to trust her judgment completely. If the captain said this was just training, then Kate would treat it as such. Lieutenant Megan Torres contacted the command center from the fighter base. Her squadron was ready for flight exercises. She asked permission to begin practice maneuvers around the alien fleet. Lisa granted permission and reminded Megan to follow safety protocols. She did not want any accidents during what should be routine training flights. The pilots needed to stay sharp for when real challenges presented themselves. Above them, Zarathic watched human military units mobilize with growing confusion. Their movements seemed almost casual, despite the presence of a Velthari battle fleet. She had never seen defenders respond with such apparent lack of concern. Cassandra studied the human formations through tactical displays. Their equipment looked primitive, but their organization was efficient. The young warrior began to wonder if these humans might provide more challenge than expected. Dr. Amy Carter worked frantically in her laboratory analyzing the sensor data from the alien ships. She discovered energy signatures unlike anything in human science. The technology was centuries ahead of current human capabilities. Yet something puzzled Amy about the readings. The alien ships showed no signs of advanced defensive systems. Their hulls appeared strong but seemed designed for offense rather than protection. As the day progressed, both sides prepared for the coming conflict in very different ways. The Velthari readied their most advanced weapons and elite warriors. The humans organized what they called morning exercise drills. Lisa Morgan stood on her observation deck again as evening approached. Tomorrow would bring the first real test of human abilities against an alien empire. She looked forward to seeing how well her people performed during the exercises. Dawn broke over New Haven Colony as Major Kate Sullivan reviewed the exercise plans with her team. The alien fleet hung in the sky like dark storm clouds, but Kate treated them as training targets. She had organized the colonists into defensive units using standard military protocols. Kate stood in the briefing room surrounded by volunteers from every profession. Farmers sat next to engineers while teachers discussed tactics with maintenance workers. All of them had basic military training as required for colonial service. The volunteers listened as Kate explained the exercise scenario. They would face an alien invasion force using superior technology and numbers. The goal was to test defensive strategies and coordination between civilian and military units. Nobody seemed worried about the actual danger. The colonists had faced storms, severe weather system failures, and equipment breakdowns. An alien invasion was just another challenge to overcome through teamwork and preparation. Aboard the Velthari, flagship fleet Admiral Valsara studied the human colony through advanced sensors. She had conquered 47 worlds during her military career. Each victory had been swift and decisive against primitive opponents. Valsara wore the flowing robes of high command over her armored suit. Her purple skin bore ritual scars that marked her achievements. Golden implants along her skull enhanced her tactical awareness and battle reflexes. The Admiral felt confident about the coming assault. Her fleet carried enough firepower to destroy the entire colony from orbit. The humans would surrender quickly once they saw the futility of resistance. Lieutenant Megan Torres climbed into her fighter cockpit as the first exercise began. She led a squadron of 12 pilots in what the mission logs called basic flight training. The alien ships would serve as navigation markers for practice maneuvers. Megan activated her engines and felt the familiar thrill of acceleration. Flying was her greatest passion, and she approached every mission with enthusiasm. Today promised to be especially interesting with real alien ships to examine. Her squadron formed up behind her as they lifted off from the colonial landing strips. The fighters were older models but well maintained and upgraded with colonial modifications. They might not be the newest, but they were reliable. Above them, Tishana prepared to launch with the elite Crimson Wing. The Velthari starfighter commander had never lost an engagement. Her scarlet fighters were works of art as much as weapons of war. Tishana expected to crush the human pilots within minutes. Their primitive craft could not match Velthari technology and training. This would be target practice rather than actual combat. The first engagement began when Megan's squadron approached the alien fleet. She radioed her pilots to begin evasive maneuvers around the enemy ships. The exercise called for testing human pilot skills against superior opponents. Tishana launched immediately with her elite wing. 24 Crimson fighters screamed toward the human formation. Their weapons charged and targeting systems locked onto the approaching humans. Megan watched the alien fighters approach and smiled. Their ships were beautiful but flew in rigid formations that reminded her of parade flying. She ordered her squadron to scatter and begin random evasion patterns. The human fighters spread out in all directions using unpredictable movements. They flew between asteroids and used the planet gravity well to change direction rapidly. Each pilot chose their own tactics based on instinct and experience. Tishana tried to follow the human movements, but found herself confused by their chaotic patterns. Velthari training emphasized precision and coordination. These humans seemed to be flying without any plan at all. The human pilots treated the engagement like a game. They dove through asteroid fields and skimmed planetary rings, while the aliens struggled to keep up. Megan called out scores as her people evaded targeting locks. Back on the colony surface, Kate Sullivan watched the fighter engagement through tactical displays. The human pilots were performing well against superior numbers and technology. She made notes for the training report while coordinating ground defenses. The colonists had spent the morning preparing defensive positions using standard engineering techniques. They dug trenches, reinforced bunkers, and created overlapping fields. A fire? Everything was done by the manual, exactly as taught in basic training. Nyx single quotes Ella observed the human preparations from her command ship. The Velthari ground invasion commander felt disappointed by what she saw. These defensive works looked primitive compared to modern military fortifications. Nyxella had led assault forces against the strongest military positions in the galaxy. She had broken fortress worlds and conquered species with centuries of warfare experience. These humans would fall within hours of her landing. The ground commander wore powered armor that enhanced her already impressive physical abilities. Her weapons could cut through heavy armor, while her shields could deflect energy blasts. She was a perfect killing machine. Dr. Amy Carter continued analyzing alien technology while the exercises proceeded. The sensor data revealed interesting patterns in their energy systems and structural design. She began to understand how the alien ships functioned. Amy discovered that Velthari technology relied on massive power generation and brute force approaches. Their weapons were devastating, but required huge amounts of energy. Their ships were fast, but not particularly maneuverable. Most importantly, Amy realized that the aliens showed no signs of adaptive tactics or flexible thinking. Everything about their technology suggested rigid adherence to established patterns and procedures. She sent her analysis to Lisa Morgan, along with tactical recommendations. The alien forces were powerful, but predictable. Human creativity and adaptability could exploit their weaknesses if used correctly. In space, the fighter engagement continued with surprising results. Megan's squadron had not lost a single ship while 3 alien fighters had already been disabled. The Velthari pilots seemed unable to adapt to human tactics. Tishana felt growing frustration as her elite wing failed to score hits. The human fighters moved like insects, darting and weaving in patterns that defied prediction. Her pilots were trained for honorable combat, not chasing gnats. She ordered her remaining fighters to fall back and regroup. The first engagement had not gone as planned, but Tishana blamed luck rather than skill. The next attack would show these humans their place. Megan watched the alien fighters retreat and shook her head. They flew like machines following programmed instructions. There was no creativity or individual initiative in their movements. Fighting them felt like battling computers rather than living opponents. She radioed her squadron to continue patrol exercises around the alien fleet. The morning drill was going well, and her pilots needed more practice with evasive maneuvers. The aliens provided excellent training targets. On the ground, Kate Sullivan reviewed reports from the first few hours of exercises. The defensive preparations were complete, and all units reported ready for the main training event. The alien invasion would provide realistic opposition for testing their preparations. The colonists had transformed their settlement into a fortress using basic engineering and common sense. Every building had firing positions, while every street became a potential ambush site. They worked together with the efficiency of experienced builders. Kate felt proud of her volunteers. They might not be professional soldiers, but they understood teamwork and problem solving. Those skills would serve them well during the coming exercises. Fleet. Admiral Valsera watched the tactical displays with growing concern. Her elite fighters had failed to defeat a handful of primitive human craft. The engagement should have lasted minutes, but had continued for hours. She ordered the deployment of ground forces to begin immediately. Perhaps the humans would prove less troublesome on their own planet's surface. The invasion would proceed as planned, despite the unexpected resistance in space. Valsera remained confident in ultimate victory. The Velthari Empire had never been defeated by inferior opponents. These humans would learn their place in the galactic order soon enough. As the day progressed, both sides prepared for the major engagement to come. The aliens deployed their most advanced forces, while the humans continued their training exercises. Neither side fully understood what they were about to face. Commander Ruby Hayes watched the alien landing ships descend through the atmosphere like falling stars. She stood in the command bunker, surrounded by tactical displays showing enemy positions. Ruby sipped her morning coffee and reviewed the exercise. Parameters one final time. The invasion fleet consisted of 50 heavy assault craft carrying elite Velthari shock troops. Intelligence estimates suggested 10,000 enemy soldiers equipped with advanced weapons and armor. Ruby had 3,000 human defenders, including civilians with basic training. Ruby felt excited about the challenge ahead. The colonists rarely got opportunities to test their skills against serious opposition. These alien forces would provide excellent training for defensive operations and urban warfare tactics. She activated the communication system and addressed all defensive units. Ruby reminded everyone that this was a training exercise designed to test their preparation and coordination. She encouraged them to stay calm and follow standard procedures. Nixella rode in the lead assault craft, feeling confident about the coming battle. Her shock troops were the elite of the Velthari military, trained from birth for conquest and destruction. They had never faced defeat against any opponent. The ground commander reviewed tactical data as her ship approached the landing zone. The human defenses looked adequate but nothing special. Their weapons were primitive, and their positions were predictable. This would be another easy victory. Nixella wore ceremonial armor, decorated with the skulls of defeated enemies. Her personal weapons had ended thousands of lives across dozens of worlds. She looked forward to adding human skulls to her collection. The alien landing craft touched down in the fields surrounding New Haven Colony. Massive doors opened and elite warriors poured out in perfect formation. Their armor gleamed with energy shields while their weapons hummed with deadly power. Sergeant Claire Woods watched the enemy deployment through her rifle scope. She lay hidden in a camouflaged position, overlooking the landing zones. Claire had fought in 3 colonial conflicts and knew how to read enemy movements. The aliens advanced with textbook precision, maintaining perfect spacing and coordination. They moved like parade soldiers rather than combat veterans. Claire smiled as she realized these enemies had never faced guerrilla warfare. She radioed her observations to Ruby Hayes while tracking the alien formations. The enemy was following standard assault doctrine without adapting to local conditions. They seemed to expect the humans to fight conventionally. Ruby received reports from observation posts around the colony perimeter. All units confirmed that the aliens were advancing in predictable patterns. She ordered her people to begin the exercise using harassment tactics and mobile defense. The first contact occurred when Velthari scouts encountered human patrol units. The aliens expected a brief firefight followed by human retreat. Instead, they found themselves facing opponents who vanished after each exchange. Claire Woods led a team of Marine veterans in hit-and-run attacks. Against alien advance units, they would appear from concealment, fire a few shots, and disappear before return fire arrived. The tactics frustrated alien commanders who expected direct confrontation. The human fighters used knowledge of local terrain to their advantage. They moved through maintenance tunnels and service corridors that aliens did not know existed. Every building became a potential ambush site. Nixella grew increasingly annoyed as her forces failed to make significant progress. The humans refused to fight properly, instead engaging in cowardly ambush tactics. Her troops were taking casualties without inflicting meaningful damage in return. She ordered her warriors to advance more aggressively and ignore the harassment attacks. The main human defensive lines lay ahead, and breaking them would end this irritating resistance quickly. The alien assault reached the colony outer perimeter after 4 hours of fighting. Nixella expected to find fortified positions defended by conventional military units. Instead, she discovered empty buildings and abandoned streets. Ruby Hayes had evacuated the outer districts and concentrated her forces in the urban core. The aliens would have to advance through a maze of prepared positions. While under constant observation and attack, The Velthari warriors entered the empty buildings cautiously. They found signs of hasty evacuation, but no defenders. The silence felt ominous after hours of constant harassment attacks. Claire Woods watched alien units spread through the abandoned sectors from her concealed position. The enemy was walking into the most dangerous part of the exercise area. She activated her communicator and reported their positions. Human defenders opened fire simultaneously from dozens of concealed positions. The crossfire caught alien units in the open streets, where their superior armor provided little protection. The perfectly coordinated assault demonstrated months of training and preparation. Nyx Ella watched in shock as her elite warriors fell to human gunfire. The enemy had turned the entire urban area into a killing ground. Her troops were taking massive casualties while inflicting minimal damage in return. She ordered her forces to fall back and regroup. The humans were fighting with skill and coordination that rivaled veteran military units. This was not the easy conquest she had expected. Meanwhile, Cythera approached the human command center using stealth technology and assassination skills. The Velthari elite assassin had never failed to eliminate a target. Killing the human leaders would end this embarrassing resistance. Cythera moved through the colony using advanced camouflage systems that rendered her nearly invisible. Her mission was to infiltrate the command bunker and eliminate the human commanders. This would be her easiest assignment yet. She reached the command center perimeter and began searching for entry points. The building looked simple, but Cythera noticed subtle defensive modifications. The humans had prepared for infiltration attempts. Amy Carter was examining alien equipment samples when the security alarms activated. Motion sensors had detected an intruder near the command center. She alerted the security teams while analyzing the sensor readings. The readings showed an energy signature unlike anything in human databases. Amy realized they were dealing with some form of advanced stealth technology. She began working on detection methods while security teams deployed. Cythera found herself surrounded by human security personnel who seemed to know her exact location. Her stealth systems were supposedly undetectable, yet these primitives had somehow tracked her movements. The alien assassin fought desperately against overwhelming numbers. Her advanced weapons and armor allowed her to injure several humans, but could not overcome their numerical advantage and tactical coordination. Within minutes, Cythera found herself captured and disarmed. The supposedly primitive humans had defeated one of the galaxy's most feared assassins, using teamwork and preparation rather than superior technology. Ruby Hayes reviewed the battle reports as the exercise continued. 8 hours had passed since the alien landing and Velthari forces were in full retreat. Human casualties were minimal, while enemy losses approached 70%. The aliens had advanced less than 2 kilometers into the colony before being forced to withdraw. Their elite shock troops were proving ineffective against human defensive tactics and superior knowledge of local terrain. Nyxella contacted her fleet command, requesting immediate reinforcement. Her invasion force was being systematically destroyed by opponents who seemed to anticipate every move. The humans fought like they had faced Velthari tactics before. Fleet Admiral Velsera received the distress call with disbelief. Her elite ground forces were the best in the galaxy, yet they were being defeated by primitive colonists. The situation made no sense according to everything she knew about warfare. She ordered the deployment of orbital bombardment to support the ground assault. The human positions would be destroyed from space if conventional invasion could not succeed. The bombardment began with massive energy blasts targeting human defensive positions. Velsera expected to see immediate results from her fleet's most powerful weapons. Instead, the humans seemed to have anticipated this tactic as well. Ruby Hayes had prepared for orbital bombardment by dispersing her forces and creating decoy positions. The alien fire struck empty buildings, while real defenders remained hidden in underground shelters. As the 12-hour mark approached, Velthari forces were in complete disarray. Their elite invasion force had been shattered by human defenders, who treated the entire battle as a training exercise. Nyx single quotes Ella gathered her surviving warriors for evacuation. Less than 3,000 of her 10,000 elite troops remained combat effective. The humans had achieved what should have been impossible against superior technology in numbers. Ruby Hayes stood in her command bunker reviewing the exercise. Results. The colonial defenders had performed beyond all expectations against a technologically superior opponent. She made detailed notes for the training report while preparing for the next phase of exercises. Admiral Grace Parker arrived at New Haven Colony as the alien fleet retreated into high orbit. Her task force of 6 human warships had been traveling to the colony for routine patrol exercises. Grace looked at the tactical displays showing the aftermath of the alien invasion attempt. The readings showed massive destruction among the Velthari forces. 47 of their 50 landing craft were destroyed or disabled. Their elite fighter wing had lost 80% of its aircraft. The ground invasion had collapsed completely after 12 hours. Grace activated the communication system and contacted Lisa Morgan in the colony command center. She apologized for arriving late and asked if her task force had missed the war exercises. Her tone suggested mild disappointment at missing the training opportunity. Lisa responded that the morning drills had gone well, but the real exercises were about to begin. She invited Grace to participate in the advanced training scenarios they were planning. The alien fleet would provide excellent targets for fleet engagement practice aboard the Velthari. Flagship Empress Six Thora stared at the tactical reports in growing horror. She had come personally to oversee what should have been a simple conquest. Instead, she was witnessing the destruction of her most elite military forces. Zixtara ruled an empire spanning hundreds of worlds and countless species. Her military had never faced defeat in over 2 centuries of expansion. The concept of losing to primitive humans seemed impossible to accept. The Empress wore robes of state covered in symbols of her conquered territories. Golden implants enhanced her natural psychic abilities, while ceremonial weapons demonstrated her personal combat skills. She was the ultimate expression of Velthari superiority. Dr. Nina Ross studied the alien tactical patterns from her position aboard Grace Parker flagship. As a military analyst, she found their approach fascinating and deeply flawed. The aliens fought like they had never encountered adaptive opponents. Nina observed that Velthari forces used rigid hierarchies and predetermined battle plans. They seemed incapable of adjusting tactics when faced with unexpected resistance. Their superior technology could not compensate for tactical inflexibility. She compiled her analysis into a report for Admiral Parker while monitoring the ongoing engagement. The aliens were powerful, but predictable. Human forces could exploit their weaknesses through creative tactics and flexible response. General Vexilia prepared to lead the final assault against the human colony. She was the last hope of the Velthari Empire after the failure of their supposedly elite forces. Vexilia had personally conquered more worlds than any other living warrior. The general wore ancient armor, passed down through generations of military leaders. Her weapons were masterworks crafted by the finest artisans in the Empire. She had never been defeated in personal combat or strategic planning. Vexilia issued a challenge to the human forces. She demanded single combat with their greatest warrior to settle the conflict honorably. The winner would determine the fate of both the colony and the Velthari invasion fleet. Lisa Morgan received the challenge and smiled. She activated the colony communication system to address all personnel. Lisa explained that one of the aliens wanted to participate in individual combat exercises with human volunteers. Multiple colonists immediately volunteered for the sparring session. Farmers, engineers, teachers, and maintenance workers all stepped forward eager to test their skills. They treated the challenge like an opportunity for personal training. Claire Woods was selected to represent the human forces in the combat. Exercise. She had the most recent combat experience and knew how to handle herself in a fight. Claire looked forward to learning alien fighting techniques. The combat area was prepared in the main colony square. Both sides established observation positions, while medical teams stood ready to assist with injuries. The atmosphere felt like a sporting event, rather than a deadly confrontation. Vexilia entered the combat area, wearing her ancient armor and carrying weapons that had destroyed entire armies. She expected to end this humiliation quickly through demonstration of personal superiority. Claire Woods approached wearing standard colonial work clothes and carrying basic exercise equipment. She treated the encounter like a training session, designed to test different fighting styles and techniques. The combat began with Vexilia launching a devastating attack that should have ended the fight immediately. Her energy weapons discharged, while her armor enhanced her speed and strength beyond normal biological limits. Claire simply was not there when the attacks arrived. She moved with casual efficiency, avoiding each assault while studying alien fighting patterns. Her movements looked effortless. Despite facing a technologically enhanced opponent, the human fighter began her counterattack, using techniques that confused and frustrated the alien general. Claire fought like she was solving a puzzle rather than battling for her life. Each move seemed calculated to learn rather than harm. Vexilia found herself unable to land a significant blow, despite her overwhelming technological advantages. The human moved like water, flowing around obstacles. Every attack passed harmlessly through empty air. After 30 minutes of futile combat, Vexilia collapsed from exhaustion. Her enhanced armor and weapons required massive energy expenditure, while the human had barely exerted herself. The general had been defeated by simple endurance and patience. Claire helped Vexilia to her feet and offered her water. She complimented the alien fighting style and asked if they could practice together more often. The human treated their combat like a learning experience rather than a victory. Empress Sixtera watched the defeat of her greatest warrior with stunned silence. Everything she believed about Velthari's superiority had been proven wrong in a single day. These humans were beyond anything her empire had encountered. She opened communication channels with the human fleet and requested formal negotiations. The Empress acknowledged that her forces had been defeated and wished to discuss terms for peaceful resolution. Grace Parker responded immediately and invited the alien leader aboard her flagship for talks. She assured Zixtera that the humans bore no ill will, despite the invasion attempt. They understood that conflicts sometimes arose from misunderstandings. Admiral Parker explained that the exercises had been useful training for both sides. The human forces had gained valuable experience, while the aliens had learned important lessons about Earth military capabilities. Dr. Nina Ross briefed the alien Empress on human military organization and capabilities. She explained that the colonial forces were civilian volunteers with basic training. The professional military had not yet been deployed. Nina showed Zixtera historical data about human conflicts and military development. She explained how humans had developed adaptive tactics through centuries of warfare against each other. This experience created flexible fighting forces. The alien Empress began to understand the scope of her error. The Velthari had attacked what humans considered a small farming settlement. The real military forces remained on Earth and throughout human space. Grace Parker offered to arrange cultural exchange programs between the two species. Humans could learn from alien technology while teaching adaptive tactics and flexible thinking. Both civilizations would benefit from cooperation. Zixtera accepted the proposal and formally withdrew all territorial claims to human space. She requested permission to establish diplomatic relations and trade agreements. The Velthari Empire needed human expertise more than human territory. The Empress issued orders for her fleet to stand down and prepare for departure. The invasion had become a diplomatic mission through the demonstrated superiority of human military thinking and individual capability. As the negotiations continued, both species began to recognize the benefits of peaceful cooperation. The Velthari offered advanced technology while humans provided tactical innovation and adaptive problem-solving skills. Lisa Morgan watched the alien fleet begin its withdrawal from New Haven Colony. The morning exercises had exceeded all expectations. For training value, she made detailed notes for the after-action report while planning future joint training exercises with their new alien allies. Ambassador Helen Wright arrived at New Haven Colony 3 days after the invasion exercises concluded. She came aboard a diplomatic vessel accompanied by translation specialists and cultural experts. Helen had been selected to establish formal relations with the Velthari Empire. Helen found the colony returning to normal operations with remarkable speed. The defensive positions were being converted back to civilian facilities, while damaged equipment was repaired. The colonists treated the recent battle like any other emergency they had overcome together. She met with Lisa Morgan in the Colony Command Center to review the situation. Helen was amazed to learn that the entire invasion had been repelled by civilian volunteers with basic military training. The professional defense forces had not even been activated. Lisa explained that the colonists viewed the alien attack as an interesting training exercise. They had gained valuable experience in defensive operations while testing their emergency response procedures. The invasion had actually been quite useful for colony preparedness. Meanwhile, Scholar Lixandra worked frantically aboard the Velthari flagship studying human historical records. As the Empire chief military analyst, she needed to understand how these primitive beings had achieved such devastating tactical superiority. Lixandra discovered that humans had spent their entire recorded history fighting each other in countless conflicts. They had developed warfare into an art form through constant practice and innovation. Every human carried the genetic memory of 10,000 years of battle. The scholar found records of human conflicts that defied rational explanation. Humans had fought wars in every possible environment using every conceivable weapon. They had turned violence into a science through endless experimentation and adaptation. She compiled her findings into a report for Empress Sixth Era while continuing her research. The humans were not primitives, but rather the ultimate expression of military evolution. Their entire species had been forged in the fires of constant warfare. General Beth Collins arrived on the next transport to establish permanent defensive protocols for the colony. She reviewed the battle reports while planning real military installations to replace the improvised defenses used during the exercises. Beth was impressed by the colonial performance but knew they had faced only a small alien force. Future threats might require professional military response rather than civilian volunteers. The colony needed proper defensive systems and trained personnel. She began surveying locations for military bases while coordinating with the colonial administration. Beth explained that the recent invasion was just the beginning of human expansion into alien space. Greater conflicts would inevitably follow. Cassandra requested permission to remain on New Haven Colony as an exchange student. The young Velthari warrior wanted to study human combat techniques and tactical thinking. She had been humbled by the devastating defeat of her supposedly elite forces. Lisa Morgan approved the request and assigned Cassandra to work with the colonial defense units. The alien warrior could learn human methods while teaching Velthari technology and tactics. Both sides would benefit from the cultural exchange. Cassandra found herself training alongside human civilians who treated warfare like any other technical skill. They approached combat with the same methodical thinking used for farming or engineering. Violence was simply another problem to be solved through teamwork and creativity. The alien warrior struggled to understand human casual attitude toward conflict. Velthari society treated warfare as a sacred ritual, while humans viewed it as an unfortunate necessity. They fought to protect rather than to conquer. Helen Wright conducted formal negotiations with Empress Zixtera aboard the alien flagship. The talks proceeded smoothly, as both leaders recognized the benefits of peaceful cooperation between their species. The Empress formally apologized for the invasion and offered reparations for any damage caused. She explained that the Velthari had misunderstood human capabilities and intended no permanent harm. The attack had been based on incomplete information. Helen accepted the apology and proposed a comprehensive alliance between the two civilizations. Humans could provide military expertise and tactical innovation, while the Velthari offered advanced technology and scientific knowledge. The negotiations established exchange programs, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. Both species would benefit from sharing their unique strengths, while learning from each other capabilities and experiences. 6 months later, New Haven Colony had become a center for human-alien cooperation. Velthari scientists worked alongside human researchers, while military personnel from both species trained together. The former enemies had become close allies. Cassandra had adapted well to human training methods and was now teaching combined tactics to mixed units. She found human flexibility and creativity complemented Velthari discipline and technology. The partnership produced superior results for both sides. The alien warrior had also learned to appreciate human humor and casual attitudes. She understood, now that their apparent lack of seriousness masked deep competence and professional skill. Humans simply did not need to prove themselves through displays of aggression. Dr. Amy Carter led joint research projects studying alien biology and human adaptability. She worked closely with Velthari scientists to understand the physiological differences between their species. The research revealed fascinating parallels and divergences in evolutionary development. Amy discovered that humans possessed unusual resistance to psychological pressure and environmental stress. Their evolutionary history had created beings capable of functioning effectively under extreme conditions. This explained their superior performance during the invasion. Meanwhile, Lexandra had completed her comprehensive study of human military history. Her findings shocked the Velthari leadership and forced a complete re-evaluation of their expansion policies. Humans represented a threat unlike anything the Empire had previously encountered. The scholar recommended immediate alliance with humanity rather than continued expansion into their territory. She warned that human military capabilities would only grow stronger as they encountered new challenges and technologies. Empress Xdera accepted these recommendations and formally ended Velthari territorial expansion. The Empire would focus on cooperation and peaceful development rather than conquest. The age of Velthari imperialism was over. General Beth Collins established a permanent military base on New Haven Colony that served as headquarters for joint human-alien operations. The facility trained mixed units while developing new technologies that combined the best of both civilizations. The base also served as a research center for studying potential threats from other alien species. Intelligence reports suggested that more dangerous enemies existed in the galaxy. Humanity and the Velthari would need each other to survive future challenges. Helen Wright opened the new diplomatic complex that housed embassies from multiple species. New Haven Colony had become a center for interstellar relations, as word spread about human capabilities and Velthari technology. The ambassador reflected on how quickly the situation had changed from invasion to alliance. Human flexibility and alien wisdom had created something greater than either species could achieve alone. The future looked bright for both civilizations. Lisa Morgan stood once again on her observation deck, watching the sunrise over New Haven Colony. Alien ships now shared the sky with human vessels as both species worked together. The morning exercises had led to something beautiful and lasting. She sipped her coffee and reviewed the daily reports, showing continued cooperation and mutual benefit. The colonists had gained powerful allies while teaching valuable lessons about adaptability and creative problem-solving. The colony that had been threatened with destruction 6 months earlier was now the heart of an interstellar alliance. Human Determination and alien knowledge had combined to create possibilities neither species had imagined alone. As the sun rose over this new world, Lisa smiled and prepared for another day of building the future together.